Hello, humans of the internet. Welcome to this level 15 interview with Kyle, who plays JeanLuc in our Gallant Horde. JeanLuc has recently hit level 15, so it's time for me to sit down and find out all the secrets about him. That's the plan. We'll see how that goes. Welcome, and thank you for talking to me today.
Of course, I'm excited
about your delightful dude.
I've got some tea to spill. It's like
I'm excited.
Dude light. Like if it were water.
Dude light, I like it.
The phrase dude was poured roughly near that glass of water, so it's like dude flavored.
I'm always amused by the fact that your character sheet's gender is male, I guess.
Yep.
Love it. So good. Okay, well, let's start with Kyle. Because we are also interested in you, not just your character.
Oh.
So I know. So tell me a little bit about your background with Dungeons and Dragons, how you ended up in the Horde. What led you to this place?
Yeah, so I was super resistant for a long time for Dungeons and Dragons because I'm like, oh, that's nerd stuff, and I'm a nerd, but I'm not that level of nerd. So a buddy of mine kept pushing, so I finally went to a game, and I played this weird little bard named Eredin Swiftwind, and it was okay. It wasn't terrible. I'm like, all right, I get it. And then a friend said, hey, there's this new streaming channel on Geek and Sundry that's just starting. You should take a look. You might like it. So I took a look, and it was Critical Role on like episode 5. So I'm like, oh, this is kind of cool. So I've been a critter from the early days. And that got me into, this can be like heavy acting. For those that don't know me yet, I am a stage actor based out of Portland, Maine. I have a degree in musical theater. I have run a theater company for several years. I do a lot of professional gigs, which is why I can't always stream as often as some of the other characters. But it was like, this is a fun outlet to kind of practice my improvisation skills and that sort of thing. So that led me to joining a game in real life. I actually brought Eredin with me. And he just set up an Irish accent, which is just kind of how I started him off. And yeah, I got hooked. I got hooked real good into this kind of role-playing game of getting really into the acting aspect of it.
Yep, I love that too. I did improv theater in my wayward youth, and it's the same. It's just so much fun to that yes and thing, right?
Yeah, and like what I really liked about it and what Critical Role showed me was, this isn't just dick jokes and being silly. Like you can have some real moments, and I live for that shit.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where a lot of my characters were built from. JeanLuc started as a very big divergent from that and came back around because apparently I can't avoid it.
How you feel? Cool. So how'd you end up in the Horde?
Yes. So I've been around since I think the second major event. I was one of the 6 lucky ones that got to do the level 20.
Yep.
2 years
Roscoe,
ago,
as I recall.
No.
2 years, I think. Is that not Roscoe?
Gundage Kilburn.
No, that was Gundage.
That was Gundage. He had another Irish accent who was much lower, much deeper, which grew into a streamed game, which died in a fire.
Oh, yeah.
And then I did the ladder tournament. That's where Roscoe Sean was
showed up.
He didn't make it very long because he was a squishy little rogue and went against Freddy the Barbarian. I smashed him in one hit.
That's right. Freddy was played by Jen, is that right? Was Freddy played by Jen?
Don't remember who she was.
I don't remember either.
Gosh.
It was a while ago. It's fine.
It was so long ago. But yeah, and then I'm like, okay, I should take a break from this for a little bit. But I was still a mod for Critter Gifting, so I was still around, and I'm like, I'm seeing all this roleplay stuff happening, and I want in. Jax, can I play too?
At that point, you were moderating in the Discord before you joined the Horde, right?
I was.
Yeah, so you had access to all the Horde stuff.
I had all the tea, and I'm like, ooh, I want to spill tea.
This is you and Shortly both. We're like, we can steal this, and we're having major FOMO.
Pretty much.
So good. Awesome. All right. So tell us about JeanLuc. Where did he come from? Like, I guess what I mean is in your brain, where did he come from?
So the original design of JeanLuc is so different from where they are today.
Character's gonna character, man.
Seriously, sometimes I'll just design a character for an acting thing I want to work on. As you may have figured out from this interview, if you're new to me, I kind of like doing accents. I've gotten pretty good at them, and I get pretty good at them through practice. And my French sucks. So I'm like, I'm gonna make a French character. I'm gonna make one that starts with a French accent. That's where I started. Like, okay, what's a good French name? So I went with JeanLuc, and building them out was interesting. So I'm like, okay, I want to do a cleric. That's kind of what I've been doing lately. So I built him for a one-shot with some friends of mine that I do a podcast with called I Hate Musicals, the podcast. Hashtag shameless plug. And it was a version of The Traveler. I made an avatar of The Traveler. And in that one shot, there was another Fey being, and they kind of put him in this bind where he had to reveal his biggest secret. So, like, we're 3 hours into the game, and that's where the hair flip came in, and suddenly the Traveler, not our tag in the Traveler, just this muscular, handsome face, this guy, still kind of audacious and very braggadocious of a being, but that's where that came to be. So I gave him the last name, Ambulant, which my rough translation of French is to wander or to walk or to travel.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where, and no one, when I brought them into the Horde, no one picked up on JeanLuc Ambulant.
I did. But I knew, so.
Yeah. But yeah, that was
oh, Kyle, you clever bastard.
So when I brought them into the Horde, the whole intention was that's who they were. They were the Traveler. Yeah. And then I started, who was it? I think it was Naya. Started kind of poking, like, who's your god? And I'm like, oh, it's the Traveler, but he doesn't talk to me as much as others do. And then I said, oh, I wonder why that is. And I'm like, yeah, me too. Pray tell, what are your thoughts? Like, and that just kind of when I went, what if he isn't actually the Traveler? What if there's something going on with him? So I sat down one night and started thinking, okay, what could it be? And that's where I came up with the whole story of Chateau Toussaint and all that fuckery.
Yep. So good. Yeah. And now it's become real central because it turns out that your patron who runs this place, which JeanLuc certainly didn't know at first, is Titania. So you've accidentally brought Artagan into this, essentially the summer court, which he's less than thrilled about.
Yeah. What's interesting was I hadn't planned on him being Artagan until that throne room meeting where you said Artagan. I'm like, we're going with it. Yes, and.
Yeah. So good. Okay, cool. So the Horde obviously is a very different kind of campaign because with most campaigns you have a small group that go through a story, but with the Horde we've tried to beat the great BBEG of D&D, which is scheduling, by making it essentially a series of one-shots within a frame story. So you can play as often or as little as you want / can and still be part of that frame story. What has that been like as a player for you?
So I had tried a Westmarch style campaign before, and it just the 3DMs couldn't figure it out, and yes, the scheduling BBEG reared its ugly head, and it just never worked out. For me, it's been really great because I'm like, okay, especially in the last year, I've been very fortunate to kind of have a renaissance in the real world of acting.
Yeah.
I've been booked for a year solid, which is a weird
Which is so cool. So cool.
So it's been great to say, okay, here's when I don't have rehearsals. Can I sneak something in here? It's been so great for me as someone with a crazy busy schedule. I've got about 40 hours worth of hobbies on top of my 40 hours worth of work.
I feel you.
In the process, I got a massive promotion in my real life, so I've been like leading people, which sometimes takes all of my spell slots.
Yep.
So it's been crazy, but this kind of laid back campaign has given me the ability in the text groups to really flesh out the character and really tell their story. And what I like about it is everyone gets to have their moment, and everyone gets to be kind of the star of a scene here or there. You can make it for yourself, someone else can give it to you. But I find this group of folks is just so good at sharing that spotlight and going, oh, this is the story that's being told right now. My job is to shut up and listen. Which is something that in table games I have struggled with, because as an actor, I understand, okay, it is Julietta's turn to be the star of this arc. I'm gonna just sit down and support where I can. And it seems like everyone here understands that. And it makes for such great storytelling. I love just sitting back and watching and drinking the story juice.
Yeah. We've been very fortunate, I think, with the people. I think with the people that we started with, because it meant that we built a culture. And then when new people have come in, that culture already exists. So most of the people who've come in have found a way to fit into that. I, as kind of boss DM girl, try very hard to make sure everyone gets a little bit of story from time to time, but obviously that's not always possible. But I've found exactly what you said, that even when I can't do it, other people do it to some degree, so that everybody's getting their little bits, which is awesome.
It's what's interesting for me is in some of the other games I've played, because of my career and my profession, I've been expected to carry story for everyone, the whole campaign, and that gets to be a lot. So it's nice to like have my story bits, and that's it. That's all I gotta do. That's all I gotta lift for.
Yep. Cool. That's awesome. All right. Let's get down to the nitty-gritty of JeanLuc. So, we've spoken a little bit about his relationship with his god.
Yes.
It's very different to most of the god-cleric relationships we have. Probably, bizarrely, the one that's closest to is Artbeck Orla. A little bit. But tell us a bit about that relationship.
So as I have gotten older, I have kind of stepped away from real people religion quite a bit. But it's made D&D religion really interesting to me. So I've always been fascinated with some of the ways that they choose to do things. And kind of watching some streams, some various things on Twitch and online, I saw the idea of an avatar, and I'm like, oh, what's that? And it's just kind of that being that is created to be the physical manifestation of this god to walk the plains.
Yep.
So I'm like, okay. Artagan is canonically not a real god.
Yep.
And a really bad one. Yep. How badly did he fuck this up? So, kind of going through it, I decided that, you know what? Instead of making a body, he found one that he felt was worthy and like didn't get the best shot in life. So wanted to say, you know what? This body will live on through me. And then fucked it up and shares the body with him.
Yep, which is just so delightful.
Yeah, I was talking to Laura, who plays the Nashi, and I made the comment of, I know we're allowed to play our own stories, but I really want to play this Artagan as close to the original creation as possible. Yep. So I've been having a lot of fun with, like, I am the god. Oh god, I'm so bad at this and I hate this.
Yeah. Right. So Artagan now mostly lives on a doll.
Yes.
Due to the fact that JeanLuc wanted some privacy inside his own brain.
Yeah, that was interesting how that came about, because JeanLuc, in one of the stream drawings, won the talking doll.
Yeah.
Which was cool, and then I looked at it, and fun fact about Kyle, I am terrified of dolls. utterly, I will leave a room screaming and crying if there is a doll in there. Is it reasonable or rational? Sure isn't. Can I stop it?
Beers
Sure
or not.
can't.
Yep.
So I flavored it to just kind of be like this JeanLuc Jr. is what it started as. And then once the glamour spell was dispelled, I'm like, ooh, what if this is how they separated themselves? This is how they were able to each have autonomy, or at least JeanLuc could have autonomy, because there was this big conversation of what has JeanLuc consented to, what have they not.
Yep.
So that was kind of very conveniently, oh, this is an option that's available.
It's so good. And now it's led to a whole storyline about where has Artagan left his body and can we find it before he does so that we can use it as leverage and all this stuff. So good. Which I believe neither JeanLuc nor Artagan know about, right? Does JeanLuc know that that's going on? I know Artagan doesn't.
Artagan doesn't. I think it's been mentioned within the vicinity of JeanLuc, but not full intentions.
Right. The other interesting relationship for JeanLuc was Colness.
Yeah.
That was a whole thing.
And gosh darn, that was fun. Like, shout out to Rex for playing that with me and playing his character all out while I played my character all out. It was they were super fun, and we both leaned into the oh, this is gonna suck. Let's do it. They had
like
started
true
out
frenemies.
I had compared them to Betty Davis and I suddenly forgot the other actress' name.
I don't know who you're talking about. I'm sorry.
The famous feud. Betty Davis.
I don't know about Betty Davis's famous feud.
Oh my god, Joan Crawford.
Oh right. Yep. Okay.
Yeah, I had compared the two of them to that, where there are these two divas who just are so full of themselves, but like have this respect for each other, and through that have this strong connection. We were both on the compass, Annabelle's compass.
Yep.
Mission.
We're going to talk about that mission because that had very far-reaching effects. But yes, carry on.
And JeanLuc. The other fun thing about JeanLuc was I designed them to be a complete and utter slut. Like they have no inhibitions about things, and they have not acted on that at all.
That's it. Yeah.
Carnon, that's about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Carnon was just about to die, and Colness was ready to kill him. And I think JeanLuc said, I have exactly one diamond. And I am willing to use it on Hot Boy and not you, Colness.
Yeah.
But yeah, so their feud started when he left, and JeanLuc didn't appreciate that or take well to that. And then when they were having their apology, JeanLuc got really vulnerable, which they had not done previously. Really kind of explaining why this hurt them, why this abandonment that I feel already with everything else, and now the one person I trust the most has done it. He pulled a prank and backed himself away from a hug.
Yep.
Oh,
yeah.
That was, and JeanLuc at that point was not ready to forgive and forget. So when Colness made his exit, they kind of had that moment of, I can forgive this, but I can't call you close anymore.
Yeah.
Which was a very interesting scene to play. And again, kudos to Rex for going into that bravely with me. Because those can be scary and hard to play, but when they work, mwah.
Yeah, no, it was beautiful. Like heartbreaking, but beautiful.
I love to break hearts.
Yeah, me too. So Carnon, you go on this mission to steal a compass from a pirate captain.
Yep.
And along the way, you bring back this beautiful tiefling boy who is more slutty than JeanLuc, which is saying something. Who then becomes like a major NPC in the story, along with the pirate captain you nearly killed. who comes back, and it turns out she's an ex-lover of the lady's.
Yeah.
And the compass that the lady sent you to get was a gift to Annabelle from the lady.
Mm-hmm.
And that whole thing has now become a major part of the story, which I didn't have in mind when I sent you to steal this compass. But you brought someone back, and so I had to give him a story.
You're welcome.
How do you feel about that situation?
I think the most important thing to mention is how JeanLuc attracted Carnot.
Oh yes, of course.
Because it was a very highly rolled bend and snap.
Yeah. And the bend and snap has now become a thing.
Yes. Oh man, that was so much fun. I remember that was one of my favorite moments. Is that just kind of working, and me going, "Hey, hot boy, you can come back with me. Come back to my place. It'll be great."
He was like, "Yep, okay."
I think that was one of my first jaw-dropping moments when we got back from that mission, and Karnan just went, "You."
Yeah.
Oh, there's tea here. I'm gonna need that tea.
It took a while for it to spill, as it were.
Oh gosh, that was I love that moment.
Yeah, it's the gift that keeps giving, because every now and then I bring them back from their missions, and they always cause a ruckus. Conan and Annabelle. They are some of my favorite NPCs, I must say. I love them.
They are so good. So good.
So much fun. Jean-Luc's family. So this has become important because Jean-Luc has plans. Tell me about Jean-Luc's plans. Or about the family as well, I guess, because if people don't know.
So I have this thing where I like to play children of some level of nobility who hate it.
Right.
So I just kind of decided, and I put some of, not my real life family, but like my real life self into it. Of this is a character that is clearly queer coded, and also using he they pronouns for Jean-Luc was something I did for myself to help improve my use of they them pronouns.
Yep.
And it's worked a whole lot. It's a great way to practice if you are new or you have someone in your life that has they them pronouns. D&D characters are a fantastic way to practice and get that out of the way so you can more safely communicate with your friends and family.
Because the fictional character is probably not going to be terribly upset if you fuck it up.
Exactly.
Especially if it's your own fictional character.
Exactly. It's far less harmful. But I leaned into that as a queer person myself and just went, what would have happened if my family weren't okay with it? What could have happened?
Yeah.
And I said, well, they probably couldn't, as a family of nobility, kicked them out without something massive. I don't think this has been dropped to the Horde yet, but Jax and I have had a conversation where the dinner that Jean-Luc ruined by flirting with everyone in a gown and making all the men think he was a woman was a dinner for Oberon. Jean-Luc doesn't know that, and Jean-Luc has no idea that he probably has a target on his back somewhere.
Yep.
But that is the level of embarrassment he caused to the Toussaint name that got him exiled from the Feywild to Faerun.
Because that was them social climbing, right?
Sure was. That was, I think, the first major dinner they had thrown for the king. As we have learned, we including me, the Toussaints are very, very, very high in the autumnal hierarchy. Jean-Luc still doesn't know quite how high, because they didn't care. They didn't pay attention. They didn't see themselves as better as a noble, so they're like, oh, okay. But now, as they have kind of grown up in the Horde and kind of found that balance they were looking for between chaos and order and saying, okay, there's a way to do both. And my parents suck at it. So they now want to stage a coup. And they want the throne for themselves.
Which
and have
is
made a deal with the lady.
Yep. Yep. That will definitely be an interesting storyline to follow
Yes,
when we
I'm
get to
very
that point.
excited.
Yep. Yep. Okay, I'm going to ask you some of the questions I ask everyone because
Hit me.
we get such great stuff out of it. Tell me about Jean-Luc's opinion of the lady. Where does he sit on that spectrum?
Now, Jean-Luc has a very, very high level of respect for the lady. The lady has shown them what it is to be a leader and a ruler in a way that is fair but firm and lays down the law while also understanding that they are in charge of living beings. And living beings will not always react to things how you want them to.
Mm-hmm.
So he holds her in very, very high regard as kind of a role model of if he can be half as good as that as a leader, then he will be worlds better than his parents are.
It's interesting because she has learned that as the leader of the Horde. Like, if you watch I've been watching some of the very early episodes because I've been working on some stat stuff,
Yeah,
and she was a bitch.
she sure
Like,
were.
I don't know if you remember that from the ladder thing. She was very like these are just pawns for me to move in my game, and then gradually over the period of working with the Horde, she has developed that empathy and that understanding that loyalty is loyalty you gain by love and respect is much stronger than loyalty you gain by fear.
Mm-hmm.
And that is something that she has learned in that time as well. So she has grown a lot in that period of time that she's been, just because I guess it's the first time she's ever been so closely connected to the people that she is leading. Because
Yeah.
previously she wouldn't have been. She would have just been like sitting up in the courts doing her thing. So yeah, that's been quite fun for me to take her on that journey as well. So let's talk about your compatriots,
Yeah.
the other Horde members.
Yes.
Tell us about the people that Jean-Luc feels particularly connected to, and also the people that Jean-Luc does not feel particularly connected to, or dislikes, or distrusts, or etc.
Let's start with the likes, because I think there will be a little more surprise in the dislikes that people may not realize is coming.
I look forward to that.
Definitely Indigo.
Yeah.
Indigo has, as another Fey being with no particular gender, the two of them share quite a bit in common and just have this mutual respect for each other.
Yep.
In Jean-Luc's opinion, they are their best friend, and they are aware that is a relationship with Ardbeg and Indigo,
Yep.
and they have no deigns to change that. They are just content to have someone on their side that gets it.
Yep.
Morwen has also become a very, very close friend of Jean-Luc's.
Yeah.
She comes to all of their shows. That's something we haven't touched on yet.
Let's talk about the shows.
Oh my gosh. We'll get that in a second.
Yeah.
Yeah, she comes to all the shows. She's so supportive. She brought him back the little stage that he used in the last one. That was... Jean-Luc is not used to getting gifts. So anytime anyone has ever given him a gift, they just lose it. Like,
yeah.
How do I friends? This is difficult.
Yeah.
Quick, someone cast friends. Help me.
Yeah.
But yeah, Indigo, Morwen, the core kind of group that they've gone on most of their missions with, they feel pretty tight with. So that would be Ardbeg. They've been on a lot of missions with, have a great deal of respect for him. Hayden has gone on a lot of missions yet. We haven't actually interacted a ton in the Horde, but as a cleric, Jean-Luc, since they've been on so many missions with that individual, just feels like he's someone that must be protected at all cost. And I think I say this wrong all the time, so I'm going to try. They feel very, very close with Amnon, Mike's NPC.
Yeah.
There was...
Yeah, I can see that. Yep.
After the Lycan incident, the two of them had a conversation, which was very heart-to-heart, and that was the first time Jean-Luc stopped using Monsieur or Madame or Mademoiselle for someone. Was for Amnon. that to show that sign of familiarity.
Yeah.
Because they still, even with Morwen or Zanashi, it's Madame de Blessed or Madame Morwen.
Mm.
So yeah, those are the folks. And I mean, they also just care about everybody and want to be friends with everybody. I originally thought they were going to want to sleep with everybody, but now they've become this aromantic person.
Yeah.
Who, like they're here for the physical good times, but like romantic relationships, they're like, oh, those are feelings that exist for others.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting how sometimes characters just do that.
Yeah.
They just are who they are, and you've just kind of got to roll with that.
The character I'm bringing into the druid both is this little gnome named Alistair. He went through Tomb of Annihilations, survived somehow. Lovely member of the original party to survive.
Wow.
But I realized he was completely asexual when he got bamfed into a brothel and just shut down. Like, this is terrible. Someone help. This is more treacherous than any dungeon I've been in.
Send me a beholder. That's better.
Yeah. Pretty much. So yeah, but I had no idea until that moment, and I love how characters in D&D have their own life that you, the creator, did not see coming.
Yep. Sometimes it just happens, and you're like, oh, okay. My big one for that was the Conan Bruviel thing, because I had absolutely no intention of him trying to get back together, and then it happened, and I was literally sitting there typing, going, "What the fuck are you doing, you idiots?" But like,
that's another person JeanLuc was extremely close to.
Oh, who just left?
That was probably their first real friend. Like the first person in the Horde that they had really started connecting to. So more abandonment issues for them.
Yeah, so many abandonment issues.
Kyle or JeanLuc, who knows?
We love you, Kyle. All right, tell me about the other side of this coin.
All right. So Coldnass should not be a surprise for anybody.
Yeah, sure.
That was a rough relationship. I think Nye is the only one that's ever seen it come out in gameplay. They do not like Harper.
Oh.
They have no interest in having anything to do with Harper after the exorcism incident. After they did what they felt was incredible work, and they worked very hard, and then this child has decided that they know all and they are the only ones that know the right answer, and set up a holy sanctuary outside my goddamn temple.
Yeah, I can see how that would be a problem.
So JeanLuc is the ever polite person. The only person that's ever gotten a glimpse of their sassiness towards Harper was Naya. That is one where Alex and I never got to really interact after that, so I didn't get to play on that. And now they have left, so they don't get to. Yep. But yeah, that was a fun story bit that never got to come out.
Yeah. Wow.
Let's see. Oh, this is going to be a weird one, and I hope. Spoilers. JeanLuc also is not a huge fan of Garen. There's this.
I kind of see why, honestly, but yes, keep going.
There is this mutual respect between the two clerics, and I love Gavin. This is nothing on Gavin. I
absolutely.
Gavin.
This is yeah.
But as Garen's character has grown, it has become more neutral in JeanLuc's eyes. They have left kind of the realm of good and moved the realm of neutral. And JeanLuc doesn't love that in what they thought was this goodest of good boys. And it's just a change that JeanLuc has had to distance himself from Garen a little bit.
Yeah. I can kind of see that, especially because I think I'm trying to remember if I'm telling the truth now, but I think that Garen was a much higher level cleric than JeanLuc at first, and JeanLuc has kind of caught up.
Yeah, and then...
Is that accurate? And
It
but
is.
it's still, yeah, there's still the sense of like, let me show you how this is done, when actually Jean-Luc is at that level now. So
Yeah, every time Jean-Luc goes to do buffs, Garen's already done it.
yeah.
He's like, okay, I guess I'm not needed.
Mm.
It's just that kind of,
It's
not so
like
much
a weird
competition.
professional rivalry, sort of. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. But it's just enough that Jean-Luc has felt the need to distance themselves from that
Yeah.
relationship.
Wow. I can kind of see that. It's an interesting one because Garen's god is very much order and justice, and
Mm-hmm.
Jean-Luc's god is chaos and trickery, right? So
Yeah.
there's an inherent like tension there. Um, cool. That's
Oh, that was the
interesting.
other one. The other one who is no longer here, Juniper. Jean-Luc could not stand
Oh yeah,
Juniper.
yeah.
It's like, oh, you're gonna try to do the thing that I do, and not great. Cool. We'll fight about it someday. Oh, you left. Damn.
Yep, yep. Um, let's in terms of like Jean-Luc's. We spoke a little bit about Jean-Luc's future
Hmm.
kind of ambitions, but what is he still hoping to get out of his experience in the Horde? Is it just more power and allies? What is, I guess, what was he looking for when he arrived, and how has that changed, and what's he now?
When Jean-Luc arrived, they were driven by this force in their head, or this voice of their god that they could hear but never communicate with.
Hmm.
That what was important, and like Jean-Luc's character is built around, yes, chaos, cause all the chaos,
Hmm.
but also understand chaos. It's a lot like conversations of light versus dark.
Hmm.
You cannot have shadow without
Yep.
bright light, so you
Yep.
need both of them to be strong.
Absolutely.
They need each other. So order and chaos need each other. So there was something that was sensed that the chaos was too strong and needed a little bit of order with a side of fuckery. So that is what brought
Yep.
Jean-Luc to the Horde.
Mm.
Um, Now that it's there, Jean-Luc, he just wants to get stronger. He wants to feel strong enough that when he goes back to Chateau du Sang, that A, he's going to get the respect of the people he wants to lead,
Yep.
and B, he'll be able to put up a good fight on his parents and their cronies.
Hmm. Well, it turns out their cronies are the people the lady is also fighting against, so that works out
What
okay.
crazy random happenstance.
I know. Awesome. It's interesting how that theme of balance has become very important in this campaign. Like
Yeah.
it's sort of emerged on its own. It appears time and time again, this idea that you have to have balance between these things. It's cool. Okay, tell me about your, and you can answer this as Kyle and as Jean-Luc because it's not
Ooh,
always the same.
okay.
Your favorite Horde moment, your favorite thing that has happened that has been significant.
Oh, there's so
There's a
much.
lot. There's a lot.
Um, One of Jean-Luc's moments was in the Basilic game, getting carried by Harper's Owls,
Oh,
and just
yep.
having one of their very first L'Oreal moments because they're worth it.
That was amazing.
I think for Jean-Luc and Kyle, this was on stream, but in the roleplay chats, they have created this puppet show, this
Yes.
telenovela with their dolls.
Yep.
Um, and the third episode, I did a musical episode
It
where
was
I like
amazing.
recorded music and like
Oh my
plugged
gosh.
it in, and I would hit play as I plugged it in and comment as the video was playing
Yep.
on when certain beats happened. That was a highlight for me, Kyle. Um, and
It was
definitely for
pretty
Jean-Luc
magical.
too.
Mm.
Um, I think the biggest one for Jean-Luc, and for me as a player, if you kind of watch some of the earlier episodes with Jean-Luc, I'm not a take charge player. I fall into my yes and mode, and I wait
Hmm.
for other people to give me space before I really step in and
Yep.
speak out. The Medusa episode was for Jean-Luc coming into their own, and that was a big
Yep.
turning point for them of, I can lead a mission, I can lead a team. This is someone that I admire greatly, who I connect to on such a personal level
Hmm.
that I need to flex into that leadership position I want to be. And that mission went very well.
I think that moment changed that mission completely. Because
Oh
I
my
think
gosh.
I think that if JeanLuc hadn't had that understanding of her, it may have gone very differently.
That the moment of me looking up at the Medusa and going, let me roll high, let me roll high.
Yep. And then you
I'm the
did.
one with the stuff. That
Yep.
was that my natural 20 that I freaked out about?
I think it might have been.
There was a nat 20 that game that I just went, ah.
Yeah. Yep.
But
It
yeah,
was definitely one of those story things where the dice cooperated.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, that was probably JeanLuc's biggest moment.
Yeah. That's pretty cool. Well, that probably answers the next question, which is what is your favorite mission?
Oh gosh.
You, Kyle, you, JeanLuc. Okay, it doesn't have to be the same.
That was Jean-Luc's favorite mission by far. They were also a big fan of Tavorno.
Oh, yep.
Oh gosh, that was fun. In that I spent 2 weeks on that slow roll with the other players going, oh, this is going to be a vacation. We're going to Lake Florence. It's going to be great. And all the other players were like, what the fuck is wrong with you? And meanwhile, I'm going, so much you don't even know. But just that reveal of the Wonder Woman twirl, it's like, oh, that's just an illusion. And getting their big pink hat.
Yep.
That was a fun moment. For Kyle, Titania's Wand was one of the most fun episodes of D&D I ever played. I could not keep my accent. I was panicked the whole time.
Very stressful. It was great.
Oh gosh. Every time the clock would tick, I'd be like, what? What's happening? Nope.
It was so good.
That mission was incredible and horrifying, and heckin' Eclipsis going, Shadow Demon must fight! And we're like, what? It was a very Wonder Woman meme of, no, Diana, no. Yes, Diana, yes.
That mission was big for me because that was the moment where I went, what if the lady is Titania?
Yeah.
What if this is her wand that you're, that was a pivotal DM thing when I was planning that one, and I was like...
I think Taverno for Jean-Luc, Titania's Wand for Kyle, Medusa for both of us.
Of course, yeah.
And I think also for both of us, the Lycan mission, because that was another one where Jean-Luc's like, hey, Lycans aren't monsters. They can be, but they aren't necessarily.
Yep.
And finding out that woman was a cleric and using her powers that I use for good for harm was a big old nope.
Yep. Yeah, there's a little story string there to do with Lolth that is still hanging loosely.
Which Jean-Luc, when they did their weird goth day, one of the pranks they wanted to pull was to make people think that they believed in or wanted to follow Lolth now. So Jean-Luc has forever felt terrible about that and still thinks it's their fault.
Yep. That's going to be interesting. When we eventually come back to that string that's still just floating in the ether.
Over there, 5.
Yeah. Is there anything coming up that you're particularly looking forward to?
I mean, not that you ever create games for individual players. But Curse of the Crooked Otter, I don't even care what it is. It's got an otter, so I'm very excited.
So funny. That literally was... So I use maps from a number of map makers on Patreon, and Tom Kartos makes these beautiful, really detailed, gorgeous maps. And it came up on because when he makes them, they come up in my emails, and it was like the Crooked Otter, and I was like, well, I guess I have to set something here for Kyle.
Very excited for that. Don't know what it's going to be. It's going to be rad, though. I'm also a big fan. What did I just sign up for? The Royal Museum.
Oh, yeah.
That I am very much looking forward to.
Nothing like a good heist.
Yeah, and I think the other thing I'm looking forward to is the the 5th and final episode of Not Without My Deity.
Me too. That'll be great.
So, for those of you that don't know, Not Without My Deity is the puppet show, or the doll show, that JeanLuc has created, about JeanLuc and a doll that was gifted to them by Morwyn that JeanLuc has named Betty the Cloth Doll. Mm-hmm. And we have discovered in true telenovela fashion that Betty has an evil twin, Yvette, short for Evil Betty. Uh-huh. And there was a whole musical episode, as I mentioned earlier, where it was a dream for Betty, which was weird because she has no brain. Her brain was stolen by her twin sister.
Right.
And now they are in Yvette's evil tower, and our Tagan is at risk of losing his own brain instead. And we have one more episode to go. And Excellent. Who knows what will happen?
Who knows? It's very exciting. Is there anything we haven't done that you would love to see us do?
I would love to see a puzzle-based episode.
Oh, yeah.
My favorite printed campaign that I've gone through is Tomb of Annihilation, because each tomb was its own little mind bender, its own little puzzle to figure out, and I live for that shit. So I would love to see something like that come along. I'm very excited for JeanLuc's replacement character. But yeah, I think an episode of Mind Teasers that I get to participate in would be the dream for moi.
Cool. Well, Adam is a puzzle nerd, so I might just get him to design something. Amazing. All right. Before we end this delightful interview, we always do this at the end so that people have to watch the whole thing to find out. Tell me the biggest secret that nobody knows about JeanLuc.
Oh, most of his have come out, or that we've talked about. I think the biggest one no one knows about JeanLuc is that Oberon already has their number. From that dinner party that they crashed.
From the dinner, yep.
That nobody, I don't think even JeanLuc knows that yet.
No. I don't think anyone knows that yet. Although it was hinted at in the Hunting Lodge episode.
Sure was. Oh, I picked up on that. I saw you. I saw what you did there. But yeah, I think that's the biggest secret that nobody knows that Kyle is aware of.
Yep. Cool. Well, I'm very excited to see what happens with this character because there's so many delightful strings that are not tied up yet, and that is my favorite. So I look forward to seeing how that plays out. Is the Crowded Otter your next game, or do you have one in between?
Crowded Otter is my next scheduled game. I unfortunately have a gig for the one I had signed up for, so I had to. Good old Ardbeg took over for me.
Yeah. All right. Well, in that case, that is very likely that this interview will be released just before the Crowded Otter, which does seem fitting.
Yes.
So if you're watching this as we've released it on YouTube, you should immediately hop on over to Twitch and watch Kyle find out what's happening in the Crowded Otter, which is a tavern. Maybe they'll just all sit around and drink beer. Who knows? I guess we'll see.
A blue otter may appear.
Maybe. Kyle, thank you for spending some time with me and talking about your delightful character and your delightful self. Thrilled to have you on board. You are definitely you bring much story to this world we have created. You are a delight, and we love you very much. So thank you for your time.
Much. It's been an honor. It's been this has been kind of a haven for me when I didn't have the outlet for theater, just to come in and tell stories. So this is thank you for making this world for us to play in.
Oh, you're welcome. I feel like I just built a structure and everybody else filled it in, but
yeah.
It's awesome. All right. If you're watching, thank you for watching. Come and watch us on Twitch. Meet the tip of the iceberg that is our streams, and then come to the Discord and learn about the rest. Yep. Have a beautiful time zone wherever you are.